Right, the key thing on this is that we don't want the tilemap having to know intimate details of the sprite, and we don't want the sprite having to know intimate details of the tilemap. What we want it to be is we want the sprite to say, oh, you missed a tilemap. You work out whether I'm colliding, because you might change how all the tilemap works.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to keep that divorced situation. So let's have a look at what situation we've got in a minute and what we want to avoid. So it's the world's greatest game map. So we don't want to be able to do that.
No.
Okay. Now, in essence, the sprite is a square, a rectangle. So we're not doing like pixel. We're not bothered in a maze to be doing pixel collisions. It is all tiles and square based. So here's the code for moving right. So what we're currently doing is we're saying, yeah, okay, if they press the right key, just move by this distance. So what we want to do is we want to say, well, yeah, okay, if they're pressing the right key, but also, if they move that distance, will they suddenly be inside a wall? That's what we want to check. Now, I'm a sprite. I don't know anything about that. Well, I'm not a sprite, obviously, but this is a sprite, this code. So what I'm going to do, and what I'm showing here is a suggested way of doing conditional, multi-condition testing, is do them on separate lines, so you don't like end up with some horrible scrolly thing. I did have a student once who was doing a card game, and he couldn't work out the hidden trees, so he did his decisions for his cards, his AI, by doing an if. And he had to like say, if I've got this card and the other card is this, or this, and he had to check all of the 51 cards, all on one if. It was huge, it was about 1,800 characters long, and he had 52 of those. It was poor. Right, so we're going to try and like organise this. So we're going to ask the game map. Now, my reference I called, when I stored it in the constructor, I called it game map. You might have called it something different. So I'm going to say game map, and I'm going to call a method that doesn't exist. So I'm going to say, now how I word this is up to me, but I want to be able to say like, if the key's pressed and the way is clear, so I'm going to say, I'm going to call it clear. I don't think clear exists. No, it doesn't. So, and I need to then give it a position, say a pixel location. So at this location, is that location clear? So I want it to be an X and Y position is what I'm going to put in here. So the X position is whatever my current position is, plus the distance I want to move, which is this delta value. Right, so, and I'm moving right, so I'm not bothered about where the left-hand side of me is. I don't care, but I'm bothered about the right-hand side. So I can use the property right, which gives me my right-hand side. And I just need to say, right, well, right plus, hopefully, that. So that's where I want to be, my right-hand side to be. And then I need to give it a Y coordinate, so I'm just going to use the centre of the sprite. Okay, so I'm going to get, oops, I've been an idiot there. Right, so I've left that on its own on the line, so that if I want to in the future say, well, you know what, I'm going to put some more conditions on this because I want to test more collision points. All right, so I tend to do that, so it sort of lines up with that as well. All right, obviously this does not exist, so I'm going to say control and full stop, and it'll say, oh, do you want me to generate the method in game map? Yes, let's generate that method. So I haven't added any code. The code here is sprite code. That's the key thing, is that I'm trying to make sure I don't tie things up because that gets terribly messy later on. Okay, so because I'm using Visual Studio, I can move my cursor onto clear and press F12 and it will go to that code. So you can see it's giving me, why it's picked V, I don't know. It seems to pick because it's, I don't know. So I'm going to change that to X. I want the parameter to be called X for me. Right, so what I need to do, two things. I need to know what tile location is represented by that X and Y position. So a tile location is a point, which is just like an integer 2D value. So So I'm just going to call that block, and I'm going to say to the game, to this map, I'm going to say this dot location, and it's got quite a few different versions for location overloads, and the one we want, I think, is number 2. Oh, I hate the way that that works. It's really annoying. Yeah, that one. So if I give a pixel, and I've written an explanation, so it returns the tile location of a given pixel location. So I'm just going to pass that the x and y value. So that will give me the tile location. Now I need to know what's at that. Now the way I've got this set up, this tile map, I've just got, I created some constants, so I've got a wall and a floor, but I might have other things. This is why we want the tile map to be in charge of deciding whether you can go that way or whatever. So I'm just going to check to see if I've got a graphic tile that is a wall, and if that's true, then I can't move. Or I could check to see if there's a floor. And again, it's not, the sprite don't care, it just wants to know yes or no. I don't care how you work it out, just do it. So because I've got a simplistic system here, that's how I'm going to do it. If you start having lots of different tiles, then what you tend to need to do is create a collision map. Now the game engine can create a collision map for you, and then you just say these tiles are passable, these tiles aren't passable. So you can have groups, and it stops you having to go, if it's this or this or this, that's okay, you know. So you don't have to do that. So if you do get into a situation where you're going, oh God, I've got loads of tiles here to check, then you can leave it and you can do it a different way. Right, so I just want to know what tiles at that location. Now, because I'm working in graphics tiles, I'm just going to say get graphic, which gets a graphics tile, and you just give it a location. So I can just say at lock, and that will return the number, 0 or 1 in this case. Now I've got nice constants, and this makes this code a bit more readable, because I can say, right, well, if get graphic equals, and I'm going to check for floor. Oh, put some brackets in there. That'll help. Then I can say return true, else. I was doing Python earlier in the week, so I'm not putting semicolons. I was putting semicolons in when I was doing Python earlier in the week. Or I can say return false. Yeah. So if it turns out that there is a floor tile at the location that the player wanted to move to, or whoever asked me about clear, which is the other good thing, anything can ask me about clear location, then I'll return true or false. You can do that in one line instead though. Because this is a Boolean, it's a true or false value, I can actually just return the answer to that comparison. So I can actually do this. I can just say return get graphic, and again I'm making things more readable. So I can say that instead. I can just say if it is a floor, yeah, that's going to be true. It's clear. That means it's clear. So I don't have to do if statements all over the shop. So, and what's really nice is that you should find that the majority of your functions and things that you write are short like this. They're easy to debug. There's not going to be many mistakes. If there are mistakes, they're going to be stupid and obvious, hopefully. All right, let's see if that works then. So we're requesting to say, is there a floor at that location? If that comes back as true, and we press the right key, then we're allowed to move. So let's see if it works. And there you go, so it stops. I am actually pressing the key. Keyboard. Right, obviously, let me just show you the problem. So I've got let's get the centre. So the centre is above that tile now, so oh look, I can go straight through. But I could easily fix that by, instead of asking about this one, so I'll show you that for this one, but you can put that in. So I'm going to say, right, well hang on a minute, hang on. Let's test 2 points. So both of these have got to be clear for me to be able to move. So I'm going to not check the centre, I'm going to say the top but I'm not going to do the very top. I'm going to do like minus a few pixels, and I'm going to do the bottom the top plus top plus to go down from the top, minus to go up from the bottom. So I'm going to check a couple of pixels down and a couple of pixels up. Obviously I don't need that other hand. So I'm saying if they press right and the top corner's clear and the bottom corner's clear, let them move. So let's see, and obviously automatically, because the sprite's around the same size as a tile, my centre's not going to go through a tile. So now, so that was the previous behaviour, that worked. So if I now try and nick it at the top, I can't. If I try and nick it at the bottom, oh, that was just a pixel in, it stops. Alright, so that's all you've got to do. We've built a nice little clear checker that is just like agnostic as to what it's doing. So it's not involved. The map's just saying, oh, it's clear. Alright, so I can do the similar thing now for the left check. So I'm just going to nab that, and now be careful when you copy pasting, because that's wrong, because I want to check the left hand side. I want to check the left hand side minus, so I'm mirroring what the move I want to make. And I'll put this back to centre, so I'm checking only the centres. So hopefully now what I've got is something that I can't go through walls left and right. Now if I'd have done a stupid copy paste and I'd have left that as right, this is what I would observe. So my right hand side is being checked against the wall, so I'll step on the wall and then stop. Now it might be situations where you want that sort of behaviour to happen, so you know, you can always tinker with this. If you want to be able to overlap a tile a little bit, you can. You're in control of all that. Right, so I do that for the left, and then obviously I've just got to do the same for the up and down. So I'm going to say gamer dot clear, and I'm going to use the centre for the X this time because I'm checking just up and down. And then I'm going to do, right, so I'm moving up, so I want to check my top. So I'm going to say my top minus, and you can see it's minus because that's what I had down there, minus that lot. So the move we want to make. Let's check that works. Always stop and check. Don't like do a load. Never ever do a load of programming and then say, oh, I'll test it now, because it's like, if it's completely broken, you're not going to know where to start. At least if you've only done one line of code, it can only be one line of code. Right, so I just need to check the bottom, and then I've got a rudimentary, and that's good enough. It might not be good enough to play, but it's good enough to check other elements work now. So I'm just going to nab that, put that in there, put that down on that side, and make sure I change this round to bottom and plus. So, like I say, if you're just doing some basic clean texturing, that's all you need. That's good enough for tilemap. Obviously, I've got the centre problem still because I didn't fix it for up and down, or left and right. One thing that you will get is that sort of scenario. You can get sprites stuck inside things. Okay, but that's just a matter of carefully thinking about your. You don't have to check, because we're using floats, you don't have to make it exactly this. You could say, oh, a little bit further. So you could like put a fudge factor in and say +1 and check another pixel along. So you never get a chance to get stuck inside an object. Yeah, because floats will do that to you. We've got a floating point number plus 200 times another floating point number. Your accuracy is going to be all over the shop. Okay, so you can like put little fudge numbers in. It's probably a good idea not to have 200, have like a speed variable or something, so that if you want to do pickups that speed you up or slow you down, then you can easily change that. That makes it dead easy to do that. Anything where you've got a constant thing, oh, should it be a variable? And make it a variable. You've only got to go float speed equals 200, set a default value, and then you can just modify it. Okay, right, I'll stop that one there.